My name is Rob Love, the Wolf of Radio, and you're listening to Debatable Truths, where all truths are debatable, objectivity prevails, and mediation occurs. Joining me today in the Wolf Pack is Momma and CB, and today we're going to talk about relationships. What do you value most in a relationship? What do you consider a good relationship? Most people consider a successful relationship as you've been married for multiple years or you've exceeded the life expectancy of new marriages. So, Mama, what would you consider the ingredients for a successful relationship? And better yet, what do you even determine is a relationship?
Okay, that's a easy question, but it's kind of loaded. All
Hey, give it
right.
to us.
First, what are the ingredients for a successful relationship? I think you have to be going the same way. It's going
Okay.
to be hard to be with somebody that you want different things and your values and your goals are totally different. Your personalities can be different, your opinions can be different, but fundamentally, you need to be working and moving towards the same things. It's going to be difficult for you to be with someone who wants kids and you don't,
Okay.
or you're a person of faith and they're not,
Okay.
or you value money and they don't. You see what I'm saying? So
Oh, absolutely.
you have to be going in the same direction, or at least willing to mature. That's going to be the main ingredient for any relationship.
Okay.
My experience is my marriage has gotten better the more that I've been willing to grow up.
Okay. So is one of the, I guess, key ingredients to maturation compromise?
A lot of compromise. But I think, and this might be a word that a lot of people don't like to hear,
Okay.
but submission.
Okay. Okay.
That's been a bad word
Yeah, that's already a sticky situation for me.
already.
Yeah.
Already.
All right. Can you
That's been a bad word, yeah, in
so
relationships. And for people of faith, now everybody who listens is not a person of faith, right? But
that's
when you
correct.
hear
That's correct.
we right. So when you hear the word submission, you I guess the context of that and the connotation is I have to bow down to you
Okay.
and I have
Okay.
to do what you tell me to do and I have
That's
to
what it
do
said.
it how
That's
that's
what it
what it
sounded
sounds.
like to me. Go
That's
ahead.
what it sounds like.
Go
But
ahead.
that has not been my experience, honestly. And I was
All right.
listening to something the other day. What he said to me made a lot of sense. When you break down what it means, submission, because
Okay.
this is a prefix, sub is the prefix, right? And
Right.
I'm a huge proponent that people need to know what words mean.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So submission just means that you're submitting to the mission.
Okay.
You're submitting to the mission.
All
And
right.
that's where being on the same team comes into play.
Right.
Because if our mission as a family in our marriage, whatever it is, if your mission is to, let's say, whale watch and save the whales, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is moving you towards that mission, you need to submit to
All right.
because that's the fundamental goal. Does that make sense?
Fair enough. Fair
If
enough.
you've agreed to do that together and you've agreed to do life together, and this is the mission and the vision that you set forth for your family, you have agreed to submit to that mission. And whatever it takes to get to that place, you've agreed to do it.
Okay. So it's kind of like really kind of like an analogy instead of really the actual word submission itself, because you kind of broke it down to, I mean, layman's terms, really, because what you did was explain to us what you are trying to say submission means. And you even did a little word play with it and made it all about just the mission of which you commit to. Is that
Right.
that along the lines of what you, all right? I mean, I've been married before. Didn't last
Yeah.
long, so I'm one of those statistics where it was probably already done in less than a year, but we made it 3 years together under the same roof at least. But
Yeah.
to me, the breakdown or the deterioration of communication was the key ingredient on the failure of that relationship. So I think that communication is number one. It's key. It is the driving force to every relationship, even if it's just your kids. How do you get kids to understand what you want them to do? You got to communicate. And the same thing I feel is a very key and most important ingredient in every relationship to me is communication. The delivery of the message matters. The tone of voice matters. So all of that can make or break a relationship. Even if you just said something the wrong way, they took it the wrong way and didn't understand the meaning of your message to them. What do you guys think about just overall how important communication is in a relationship? Or what do you think about that in the rank or the hierarchy of um, important factors or ingredients into a successful relationship?
So what's going to probably be surprising is
Okay.
I tend to lean towards what Mama said. A chaplain, while I was deployed, spoke to me and he said, the biggest thing that you have to do in a relationship is submit. And the way that I took it from him is that the relationship has to be at the forefront. It has to be the leading priority in your life. If there are other priorities in your life that are pulling you away from your relationship, it is always going to cause tension in your relationship. So anything that is a priority to you, you focus on, you put all your efforts in.
Okay.
If every weekend I'm hanging out with my boys and kicking it with them, that means I'm not tending to my relationship. So there's
Right.
going to be issues. Your significant other begins to feel like they are a secondary priority in your life. They're not primary. They're not of the utmost importance in your life. And quite honestly, when you think about it, that's the case with anything. Anything that's important to you, you focus on. You can't have a successful relationship, let alone a successful marriage, if it's not important to you, if you're not nurturing it. The simplest thing, you have to nurture a plant. You have to water it every day. You have to feed it, ensure that it has sunlight. That's what a relationship is. And to think that it's something that you can set on cruise control and it will flourish on its own, you are sadly mistaken. I see people take better care of their cars than they do in their relationship.
Right. But what do you say to that word? I mean, yes, we just analyzed it and we just broke it down, and we feel like it's an understandable word for us on this panel. However, there's listeners out there that's like, submission. The fuck you mean submission?
Whatever is important to you, you submit to.
Oh yes, oh yes. I mean, very logical to me. And after this break, we'll get Mama's take. Welcome back to Debatable Truths. This is Rob Love, the Wolf of Radio. And before the break, you got Wolf and CB's take on the importance of communication in a relationship. Right now, we'll let Mama chime in and give us her take.
In my opinion, I'm kind of on the fence about, not that communication isn't important,
Right.
but most people, I think, are not good communicators.
No doubt. No doubt.
So before you get to telling somebody else how you feel, you have to know if whether or not what you feel is true.
A debatable truth, but go ahead. Okay,
I'm just giving an example of things that I hear that people are always talking about.
No doubt.
Always
All right.
talking about, like, you don't let me look at your phone. You don't ever let me check your phone. You always hiding your phone. You always have this going on, right?
Oh, insecure.
Right. So I hear a lot about that. Okay.
Mhm.
So I do believe that communication is important in any relationship that you're in, but the priority of it, I don't know if it's the first priority, I should say, because everything that you think is not true and everything that you feel is not true. So that's why I was giving the example of I see a lot about the cell phones. The cell phones are a big deal. You're not letting me look in your cell phone. People are calling you on the cell phone. I don't know who it is, and whatever. I always see stuff about ladies wanting to see in men's cell phones, right?
Right.
So if I had an issue and I just I
Mhm.
think, or I'm suspicious of something that you have going on, right?
Okay.
And I approach you with it, one or two things could happen. Either I'm right or I'm
Okay.
wrong. But if I'm wrong, now I've accused you. And that's already going to cause a problem in the relationship because I don't trust you. If I'm accusing you of something, it's because I don't trust you. And now I feel like I have to be the Sherlock Holmes in the relationship because now I have to find out what you're doing, right?
Okay.
Even if you're not doing anything. So I think that good communication comes when you first check your mind at the door. You check yourself first. Is this true? Is it true that my man, my husband, my boyfriend has given me a reason not to trust him? That's the first thing. Is it true that he's done something to make me believe that I need to be suspicious of the things that he has going on? Or am I going to let my mind and my feelings run the show? Because a lot
Okay.
of times people will say things that they feel
Mhm.
and they are very negative, okay?
All right.
And I think it's important that you are slow to speak and quick to listen. Because if somebody is doing something they don't have no business doing anyway, it's always going to come out.
Okay.
That's always going to come out.
So
So I
what's
think
that called?
communication.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, what's it called? Just taking your time.
Oh, I'm talking about really all of it because you just mentioned going through the phone. You mentioned
Yeah.
I have a suspicion. You mentioned things that I think he's doing. I don't know that he's doing for sure. So, what is the source of the information? How did you gain this
Right.
information? And where did all the
Right.
doubt come from before you even approached him?
Right. That's where I feel like communication can be a really negative thing in a relationship if you don't know when to do it, how to do it, or if you're not aware enough of yourself to say, you know what, I'm dealing with my own baggage and I'm real suspicious
Mhm.
and I'm distrustful. And before I open my mouth to my husband, my boyfriend, my child, I need to kind of check myself. Is this a
Okay.
valid thing? Is it
So,
even valid? Or is
so,
it coming from something inside of me?
so you the one got the husband, the boyfriend, and the child. Which is the child by the husband or the boyfriend? Is what I want to know. I'm just the people that actually are up to no good are the ones that suspect their significant other to be up to no good.
It's an example.
We
It's an example.
so we think that's a debatable truth, but so we think it's but
It's
uh,
an example.
but with the examples that you gave though, those are still when you suspect anything you say to them that you don't know the answer to or it's questionable, it's still a debatable truth. And CB, if you had your woman, your girlfriend, your spouse, not saying that you have all at the same time.
Okay, now we
if
clarifying.
right, if if your significant other approached you with an allegation, how do you defend yourself, or do you defend yourself?
Wow, it's another loaded question.
Yes, sir.
Because there is no right answer.
Right.
If you defend yourself,
Mm-hmm.
to them it proves it.
Yep.
If you have done something and you let them look through your phone, then they prove it also. But even if you have not done anything and you allow them to look through your phone, you feel violated.
Privacy and trust.
So it definitely depends on how you are approached, how your significant other approaches you with the situation. And you have to be willing to set them at ease. Again, that's that priority. You have to be willing to allow your ego to take a step back, and that you are providing comfort and ease to your significant other. And it's easy to get defensive, because in that accusation, it is exactly that. They are accusing you of something that is improper. So you immediately take offense to it. So right. The communication is that you have to check yourself at the door, because this is a relationship that you are required to nurture. And because of that, you can't just be immediately offended.
Yeah.
And the next part, or one of the things that I wanted to interject about communication, is part of communication is not saying everything that you think. Not whether it's right or wrong, just sometimes shut the hell up and don't express it.
Okay.
I want to chime in on that real quick, because I was thinking and feeling as CB was talking, that mutual respect, that's submission.
Okay.
That's submission. We're on the same team. So if I'm taking my time and saying, okay, let me check myself first. Is this a real thing that's going on? Or is this like you know what I'm saying? It's just like some negative stuff. Is this some stuff that's going on inside of me that I need to check before I bring it to husband, boyfriend, child, friend, whatever the situation is? And then that the other person on their end is like, okay, let me check my ego at the door. Let me be kind to you. Let me give you the
Grace.
I don't know, the grace, yes, thank you, that you need. Then we're both on the same team. We're both going in the same direction. We have both prioritized this relationship.
Okay.
And the health of it. So we're both working towards that.
So again, I asked earlier, does that still, I guess, circle back around to how important is compromise, or is that even the same thing? Submission, compromise, are they hand in hand? Are they different slightly, or?
Okay, here's why I don't like compromise. Compromise means that someone has to lose. So
does it?
The way that people internalize it and take it, someone has to lose.
Man, well, don't you think some of people's internalization of what compromise is a bit flawed? And the old saying is, people that don't get it don't get that they don't get it. So we'll take a short break here and revisit this topic when we return to get CB's full take on compromise. We're back.
Where we were talking about compromise. And what I don't like about compromise is it always has a connotation of one person wins and another person loses or has to give up their position. I prefer to look at things as a win-win situation. How is it that we both can find a positive solution to this situation? If I let you go through my phone, because that's where your concern is, what is it that I get out of this? Can I let her go through my phone and establish that, see, I am honest, I'm not doing anything inappropriate, and if there's something else that I could do to make you feel comfortable, and once I find out what that is, that's the win that she has, but then I also have a win because I understand where she stands, what makes her uncomfortable, and then I have to decide within myself if that's something that I'm willing to live with. But now it's open and I can establish a win-win. I don't lose. If I'm not doing anything, making her feel better is not a loss for me. It's only a loss if I feel like I need to dig my feet in the ground and I want to argue about this situation and make a non-issue an issue.
Okay. So you're telling me just because it's a compromise, somebody has to be a winner and somebody has to be a loser. But based off what you just said, you're fine with catering towards her insecurities. Well,
that's how compromise sounds to people. Like how when we started in the beginning where we were talking about submission and
Okay.
how people take in submission, people take in compromise as someone wins and
Ah,
someone loses.
so again, coming from you, that's a debatable truth. What you're saying is what you perceive people to feel what compromise is or what it's all about. When in the reality, they could see it as it really is, which is you just made an agreement. It's a settlement. It's a pact that you made with this person to, although it never happens, forgive and forget, or or
No,
we're not going to
no one
address,
ever forgets, right?
or exactly, it never happens, or we're just not going to address this anymore, or we're agree to disagree, because that's usually what a compromise is designed for. You just agree to disagree, or you just made an actual agreement to where this is something that I will accept about this
And
person. Yeah.
that's why I said, let's make it a win-win. Everything that you said in your description of a compromise, it didn't sound positive.
How is that?
Who wants to just accept something? No one wants to just accept, oh, I'm just going to accept you as my wife. Who wants to be the acceptee?
Well, and then that's the definition of compromise. You saying that you don't want to be an acceptee when what's the alternative?
I wouldn't want a woman to just accept me. Damn, you feel like you could have done better, but you just, based on your circumstances, I was what was left.
Well, what's the alternative? Because how do you get in arguments? How do you settle arguments?
Now, listen, settling, do we truly settle arguments, or do we argue and then we walk away and leave it there?
And what is that? Is that a compromise or is it not? Or you just let it go and now it can fester, it can come back up again, and now you have another issue because now the old phrase they used to say on Friday, why you bringing up old stuff?
Well, I think that keeps happening. Old stuff keeps getting brought up because it's never resolved. People
Right.
argue but never come to resolution.
No doubt.
And I don't think as a community, meaning just as people in general, not necessarily just African American people, but just in general, people aren't used to resolving their issues.
Okay.
And I think that happens a lot in our relationships with whoever we're in a relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
If you never come to a resolution, it's always going to keep coming up because it's not resolved.
Absolutely.
So
100%. And that's why we introduced the word compromise. There has to be an equal footing or a means to a resolution. And in my opinion, I believe compromise is that bridge from everything is all great, it's howdy doody, we're doing fine, and this relationship is amazing. And then there's the don't touch me, go sleep on the couch, and you disgust me. And matter of fact, get out. Isn't
well,
compromise the bridge to settle some of those disputes?
it depends on what the dispute is.
Okay.
Some disputes require resolution, some disputes require compromise, and it takes wisdom to know which requires what, you know?
Okay. And it'll be great. In a perfect world, we will have a resolution, but we're not in that. We're not in that. That's why, what is it, 50% of marriages end in the first year? Oh, no. Maybe it's 50% of all marriages end in divorce, not within the first year.
Do people feel like they have to win every battle?
Individually, I would say majority would feel that they have to win every battle. Now when you think about it, and this is why I vehemently disagree that compromise has no place in a relationship, because the people that do compromise are the ones to not only feel that they weren't defeated, but they don't feel that they won either, because they feel that we came to a resolution, even might not be the resolution that we expected or an ultimate resolution, but we came to some type of an agreement in the form of a resolution. And now we can move on because we feel that that thing that I don't like or disagree with you is acceptable. And there we go with that word again. You don't want to be an acceptee, but it's acceptable because I didn't settle by picking you, but there was something about you that I felt it wasn't the end all be all, or it wasn't the deal breaker to where I can't live the rest of my life with. So they decided I'll compromise that thing about you in order to accept all of the other things about you that I just dearly love.
See, and I go back to the win-win. So for me,
Okay.
if you win every battle, you can lose the ultimate war. Things that are not as important to you, you allow your significant other to win. But that's a win for you also because it wasn't important to you. You didn't lose anything by letting them win, but you gain something more in the long run. If every time there's a discussion, an argument, I had to win, I had to be right, my significant other is always going to feel like they lose. If they feel like they lose every time, why would they want to continue to be in this relationship? Every time you went to work, you took an L. Eventually, you're either going to quit or find another job. You're not going to keep going back to that job and taking the beating. So you have to allow them to win sometimes, and it allows you to win in the long run.
But isn't it something about that employer you just compromised about that situation that you have accepted in order to get your own peace of mind within that organization without leaving because of those things that you just could not deal with?
Just because you weaved all of your words into it does not make it the point.
All right, and
here's
Welcome back to Debatable Truths. I'm Rob Love with Woofer Radio. And during the break, Momma enlightened us on what I believe each one of you listeners will appreciate and find most useful in the struggles that you have on some very important tools to put in your bag and observations that you can use from your significant other to help understand them and to at least attempt to create a strong relationship with your significant other. Momma, take it away.
What's important to us in relationships is always going to be developed and come from a place of our greatest hurt and pain and our greatest discomfort. So this conversation really, and this debate could go on and on and on and on and on, because if you meet a person who has been abused,
right,
whether it's physical abuse or sexual abuse, their most important thing in a relationship is probably going to be a person who's even keeled, who's
right,
not quick to be angry, you know what I'm saying? Just a cool, calm, and collected person, whether that's male or female, because they've experienced the trauma of a person who wasn't, you know?
right.
Or if you talk to a person who was in a relationship where there was no security and they struggled with homelessness and there was never any money, the most important thing to them is going to be security, you know?
Right.
I just want to make sure that we have a stable home, we're going to have food, and we're going to be okay. You know, all our needs are going to be met. That's going to be the most important thing to them coming into that new relationship. So this really just goes on and on. So if I was a woman who I didn't have any financial security. My new relationship, I'm going to want my new dude to be able to take care of me. And a lot of men interpret that as gold digging, but that's not the case. If you come from a situation where you weren't provided for and you weren't taken care of, or if you grew up in a situation where your father didn't take care of you and you struggle, it's going to be important to you not to have that struggle anymore. And it's going to be important, especially if you're bringing children into the relationship. And it's not about what you can give me or what I want from you. It's because I'm afraid of lack.
Right.
And people can misinterpret those types of things. So whatever you brokenness you're coming from, whatever that is, if someone played mind games with you, it's going to be so important for you in your next relationship for somebody to be completely and totally honest with you, no matter what that is. You know, if you're coming from a relationship where someone devalued you and really came against your self-esteem and how you viewed yourself, it's going to be important for you to have somebody who builds you up. So if you're the new person coming in, they may feel like, oh, you're really needy. No, I've just been broke down a lot. So I need you to continue to affirm me and let me know that I'm beautiful to you, that you want me, that you not need me, but not need me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm going to want those things from that relationship. So when you're coming together, it's really important to be honest and communicate your hurts and communicate your brokenness, because you're going to have unnecessary landmines in that relationship if you're not honest about where you're hurt, where your wounds are. Because that's what the next relationship is, right? You want to come into it and erase the wounds of the past. And you want that other person to kind of join you in that. And if you're not honest about how you're feeling, you're not going to be going in the same direction, and you're not going to be on the same team, and you're not going to be able to submit to your mission, right? Which, whatever that is, which for most of us, like you said, that's longevity.
The other person has to, one, understand it, and the person who has those issues, those concerns, they have to express it so that you're both coming into the relationship with the full knowledge of the other one. But the thing about it, it's hard because when you first start out, everyone is in that honeymoon. You're trying to show the best thing ever, the best parts of you. And you have to be willing to be vulnerable to find that person that is right for you. You have to express your hurts, your concerns, the things that you are worried about, so that both of you can build together. One, you can decide if you want to deal with that shit.
Yep.
And two, if you decide that you do, then you can build and go forward from there, and accepting of those issues that will come up that are directly related to the concerns that were expressed early on.
Right. Understand that objectivity plays an important role in relationships too, because how can you not accept your mate's opinion on what they feel is important? Now, yeah, Mama talked about how you got to be on the same keel, but is that one of the things that has to be equally yoked in a relationship in order for you to survive, which is only your opinion on what you think is more valuable in a relationship? So
Yeah.
that's gonna be worth and it's just giving people things to think about. And like I said, we were talking about this earlier, we want them to listen to this show, hear some debatable truths, hear different viewpoints, and then leave here feeling a little more objective, and most of all, learn something and actually be able to say, I ain't think about that. I never thought of that. When you approach a woman and she allows you to, she speaks back, that's the first sign of interest, but
Okay.
nothing to it. Then you communicate with her, and she actually gives you more than just one word responses. I'm like, okay, so I guess, yeah, I'm doing well. And now You get her to laugh, get her to smile, and she's in the conversation. And then she did that little chuckle that she has when they laugh, and then just tap you on your shoulder and then grab your arm or something. I guess they try to check out the guns. I think that when they give you the number, the correct number,
Right.
answer the phone, and
Yep.
actually allow you to go on a date with them,
Mhm.
that a man can mess it. The only way a man doesn't succeed in even marrying that lady or going being in a relationship with her is if he mess it up, because she had already decided that this guy has enough potential for me to actually date, be in a relationship, and who knows even further. True or false? I know that's my debatable
That would be.
truth. That's my debatable truth.
I would say false. I
Okay.
would say false.
All right.
I would say false because myself, I'm married, right?
Okay.
But I would still go out, like not necessarily to a club, but like if I'm just out at a happy hour or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, if I'm with
Mm-hmm.
a friend or whatever, and if someone is approaching me to talk to me, I'm always gonna be polite.
Okay.
I don't really remember ever just being the type, even before I was married, just to totally blow somebody off,
All right. Keep going
especially
now.
if we're talking and you're laughing, I can laugh and
Right.
whatever. It's just, and I don't know if that's a Southern thing,
Okay.
but
Southern hospitality.
right,
All
right.
right. But you
I
got
don't
to
know if
keep
that's
going. You got to keep going. The scenario doesn't end. Remember, I said when you first started the communication,
right.
you got them to speak back. You started the
Yeah.
communication. You got them to laugh. And I didn't say that they already made a decision yet. The
Okay.
decision was after they gave you the number, exchanged numbers, and the correct number with the
Right.
intent of moving further in a what could potentially be a relationship down the line.
No,
All right.
that's
All
not
right.
true.
Go ahead.
And it's interesting for me to hear you say that
Mm-hmm.
because women don't get the male perspective, how
Okay.
you see it, how we respond to you, like if we or how important it is actually. I don't think women know how men read us.
Okay.
So when you're saying to me, oh, you spoke and you laughed and you didn't give a one word answer and you were engaging, how a
Mm-hmm.
man received that kindness, and to
Yep.
me, I would just take that as just, I would do that to anybody. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be dismissive of anyone who was speaking to me just in general,
Yeah.
and I'm a married woman.
Well,
So
man, we get the wrong idea quickly.
I
So,
see that. I see.
so, but I think we still have to address that key and important part. You're speaking as a married woman.
Well, I would say this.
Go back and be
I would
single. Yeah,
go back and be
rewind,
single.
rewind, be single,
Single again.
and give him that
Okay, be
number.
single
Give him
again.
that number. Why you give him that
Give them
number?
the number.
What was the intent of giving him that number?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you,
Okay,
and
okay.
I don't want like I feel a little bad saying this,
All right, let's go.
but honestly, I just felt like going out to eat.
But that's so real though.
I just felt
CB,
like going out to eat.
CB, have you experienced this? Let's talk to me, brother. Come on, you got to come on. You've been riding with Mama all show. You've been
I was
riding.
listening. I was listening. So again, older see things a little bit differently, and then I'll try to
Right.
rewind.
Okay,
At
go
this
ahead.
point, my approach is different, being that um, if we were to exchange numbers, I'm
Okay,
not talking to you about going to dinner. I'm talking to you about going to coffee because coffee is short term. If you're batshit crazy, I can get out of there in 15, 20 minutes and I not have to look at you again. If it
okay,
is a great conversation and we're engaging and we seem to enjoy each other's company, now coffee is going to extend on to something else. Oh, would you like to go to a museum? Again, if you're going coffee, unless it's work, uh, would you like to go out to lunch? Would you like brunch? Would you like to go do something else? So now you've extended the coffee conversation to something else.
okay.
And you didn't set yourself up to pay for dinner and get stuck and left out and not spoken to again.
Right. What was the intent of starting with coffee though?
It's a good opportunity to sit down with each other and not be stuck in a long-term discussion. Coffee is something that could be 15 to 20 minutes. Dinner is a much longer situation. So if you're having coffee, you're not eating, you're focused on discussing and talking and learning about each other.
Okay,
Wow.
communication.
Yeah, it's an actual date.
Right.
It's interacting with one another, and coffee is there as a amuse bouche. It's just a little appetite, if you will,
Yeah.
for the conversation. And if it goes well, you continue on. If it doesn't, you say, "Well, it was nice to see you. Maybe we'll talk later," or maybe you're not saying maybe. We'll talk later, and I'll see you then, or talk to you then, and then you can break it off and go your separate ways if it
Right.
did not work out.
And I like the way you put that, because it was very strategic. First of all, I'll give you that. But the the idea or the thought process that went into that, and you prefaced it with as an older guy, and that's really important, I think, to the listeners, because what they need to understand with older guys is we've been there, we've done that. We've
Yeah.
been on dates. We've taken somebody out to dinner. We've offered, and that's the gentleman thing to do. Offer a lady dinner. You know what I mean? It used to be dinner and a movie, but then we realized, well, you can't talk in a movie. So why are we going to a movie? Let's do
Yep.
this dinner. Let's communicate over dinner. Check out her mannerisms and all that. But then over time, as we get older, we realize that, wow, man, we just spent $117 on somebody we don't even know.
Church.
So, so, so what the listeners need to understand is older men are more inclined to, hey, let's meet at Starbucks on this first date, or something that's low cost, botanical garden, uh, something that might interest them, or picnic. Take them on a picnic. Something that's low cost, low budget, but you still get to engage and communicate with them. How would you receive that? I guess both younger and as an older, more mature woman.
Younger me? No.
Okay.
I don't have time for that. If I'm younger, the guy's younger, then the intention is different. A lot of guys just flat out come around and just think that sex is on the menu.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think that if you make it clear, at least like in the second or third time that you're talking to that person, that you're interested in something that's for real, then that changes the expectation or how that person is going to treat you,
Okay.
But as a woman now,
Mm-hmm.
if I was offered that, I think that'd be great, because then that lets me know that you're actually interested in me. You're not just doing this because, okay, I got a mandatory 3 to 5 times to see you, and then now I get the opportunity to, approach you with my jank at this point.
Okay. He want to bang you out.
Right. So I think that the intention plays a part in how you present yourself. If you are a person who is seriously dating, you're going to act different when you
Right.
meet people. If you're dating to get married,
Right.
I think that you're going to attract a different type of woman. But if you are dating to sleep around, then that comes across too. And you're going to attract the type of woman who just, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just on the same thing.
Yeah.
I guess I approached everyone with the intent that this could be someone who I would spend time with in the future. And if you were not someone who I necessarily saw that with, one, I may not approach you in the first place. Two, if I approached you and I found that out later, then I treated you accordingly. I knew exactly what it was. I knew what it was going to be. And I knew as far as I was willing to take it. And it was something that I had made up in my mind based on the interactions that we had. Now, if you were someone who I found interest in, then I would try to take you to do different things. Again, I think I was more along the lines of different things, like you said. Hey, let's go to lunch and then go to the museum. One, I'm controlling my costs because my pockets are only so thick at a much younger age.
Right.
But more importantly, it still gave me time to be with you.
Men have value too. And overall, in my personal experience, the reason people ask me all the time, why are you so single? You can cook, you can, you know what I mean? You're doing well, nice job, nice house, all this stuff. Great. You're right. I have a nice resume. So why are you still single? Well, there was something about them I couldn't live the rest of my life with, which to me would have meant settling. And it was not something that I could compromise in order to have a successful relationship with them forever. Because if I'm getting married, I'm planning on it for it to be forever. That's the intent. That's the whole point. And I feel men, we have a choice too.
And it's interesting. That's a lot to unpack. But I'm hearing fear.
Go ahead.
I'm hearing fear.
False. You call it fear, but I call it intelligence. See, fear means you're saying, I'm afraid of commitment. Intelligence means I know the difference between settling and compromising. I don't have to be with you just because you feel I'm a great guy. That's the type of guy you could take home to mama. Well, men have choices too. We get to choose who we get to break bread with, who we get to hang out with, who we get to date, who we get to continue to date, because it's a choice. Yes, we would love it to be mutual, but it still boils down to just because you approve of me doesn't mean I necessarily approve of you. And then you're talking about the men in that category that are of age, have not been in a committed relationship in recent years. In my case, a little bit different because I have been married. So I guess I'm not totally in the exact same category as the men that are of age, never been married, no kids, and are still bachelors. But even them still have a choice. I get to choose what's right for me, what feels right for me, and who is right for me. We talked earlier about what's acceptable or being the acceptee. CB said, I don't want a woman that just accepted me. Well, there has to be a level of acceptance in any relationship because you have accepted this person as your partner. Hell, aren't the vows for matrimony to get married, to accept them through thick and thin, for better, for worse, sickness and health, to death do you part? So why would you feel some type of way about them accepting something about you that they had to compromise in order to be with you? So acceptance is a pivotal part or a key component to a successful relationship. But even that acceptance comes in a form of compromise. You can't succeed without communication. And we found out today you can't succeed in many people's eyes without submission. Yeah, that's a word that nobody wants to accept. And frankly, you might run away from that because of the definition of the word submission. But mama broke it down for you. Sub is just a prefix of the mission itself. If you accept the mission, which is being with this woman, being with that man, and all of their vices that come along with them, all of their baggage and struggles that come along with them, then you submit to that mission. But you can't do that without communication. So, however you rank them, doesn't matter to me, as long as you understand that each has its own value to succeed in a relationship and live happily ever after. That's the end of our show for this week. Hope you enjoyed. Please tune again next Friday and meet our special guest. Also, visit us on Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. This was Debatable Truths.